Hello, everybody. Welcome to the season finale of the Queen's Gambit Film Club. I am so excited about the fact that we have completed a whole 7 episodes of the Queen's Gambit together. And thank you so much for being with me on the journey. Thank you to all of you who have been just watching even afterwards and left your comments. I really appreciate it, and I know that this series was absolutely life-changing for me, and I know for many it has really encouraged people to just be more interested in chess, look into the history a bit more, look into the whole chess world a bit more. It has really encouraged a lot of chess players to see a little bit the roles between women and men a bit differently, open our eyes a little bit more to certain differences that we experience in life, let it be gender differences or background, ethnicity differences. This series really covers so much, and it led me to even consider the benefits of chess that I have had throughout my life. I was lucky to be at 6 years old introduced to the game. And many of you know already that my whole life, my whole childhood, teenagehood, young adulthood was revolving around tournaments and coaching and traveling with chess. So for me to watch this series was really incredible. And I know for many of you, because many of you have expressed your opinion and view around the series. And of course, this is a Netflix show. So, of course, there will be certain elements that are completely just left for the imagination. But also, I can confirm that the chess references, the elements around tournaments, and all these were extremely well made. So, incredibly huge well done to the creators. Not that they will ever see this video, but I want to give a huge credit to them. So the first disclaimer I have to make is that I am linking below links that have either influenced the little slideshow I created, and also about where to find the show. ChessBase India article that carried on throughout the whole film club, and I have referenced many things from them. Now, within this presentation, let's say I did not include the actual chess game because this Chess India article is beautifully explains it, and you can even click through the moves. So I would highly recommend for those watching to check those references, those articles out below the chess, below my videos. But I also left below the soundtrack playlist that I found on Spotify from the whole show, because I have to really say that the music choices are incredible. They really helped me to create the emotions and recall certain emotions when it comes to competing competitions and being the player at the competition, or being just the one who is supporting from the sidelines. Honestly, music choices were fantastic in my opinion. If any of you are watching me live, please do say hello in the comments. I would love to see who's here. If you are watching afterwards, of course, I do encourage you as always to leave in the comments below your takeaways or your favorite elements, and also what you think about certain topics I mentioned. I also left it in the description box to say as a disclaimer that I am super interested in psychology overall, and I make a lot of references around my opinion. And or my view on the sports psychology that goes on behind the scenes in this show. But I am not a qualified expert. I'm not professional. So always take my words as my opinion and not the recommendation I make. And I see Dragos is here with me live. Hi, Dragos. I'm so happy to see your name pop up. Thank you so much for watching this final episode, season finale of the Queen's Gambit film club and the Queen's Gambit Netflix show. So I believe let's begin. I'm gonna put myself on a smaller view. And I'm so excited to present you the slideshow I created. I watched again the final episode, rewatched the final episode. And let me make a confession. It makes me emotional. It makes me cry every single time I watch it. Especially the end bit where teamwork plays out. Now I feel like I'm gonna cry. So funny. I don't know why. I'm proudly embracing the emotions. This final episode brought up so much emotion and so many memories from competition. So let's begin. With a bit of teary eye or not, let's begin. And also, of course, I'm gonna check on the comments. So let the comments flood in, guys. Let the comments flood in. So in the final episode, the opening scene starts with a memory that Beth has about her mom driving her somewhere. And Alice says to her, I'm quoting this, so that hence why the quotation mark. You know, times when people tell us something is for the best, it's for the worst. This time it's true, okay? And Beth seems really confused and a bit scared. And then later on, we see that Alice actually drove to Paul's new house. Paul is Beth's birth father. And we remember that at the very beginning of the series, at some stage, Paul goes and tries to talk to Alice to convince her to give Beth to him, and he is gonna be happy to raise her, but he felt like she wasn't in good hands with Alice, but Alice was, of course, very resistant to the idea. You know, looking from the outside at this scene, I just feel like they both tried their best. But of course, sometimes, I just realized my camera was hanging low. So I hope you could hear me. Please let me know if you could hear me until now. If not, I hopefully resolve the issue. Okay. So, yeah, what I was saying, I feel like Beth's birth parents were trying their best to the extent of what they could. Thank you, Dragos. Thank you so much. And of course, our parents trying their best is not going to seem like it's the best that could have happened. But it's the best to what they could at the time with in the mental state that they were at. Now we can say maybe Alice was in a fight or flight mode and she just really tried to survive. She wasn't in a thriving environment, while Paul maybe was more at a stable environment at the time when we caught up on the series. So this is just a little opinion I have around the situation. When Alice approaches Paul, Paul is outraged because his new wife opens the door with the little chap on her arm, Paul's son, and she doesn't even know who Alice is. Probably she haven't even heard about Beth at all. And Paul just says it's too late and he sends them away. And Beth is even asking in the car later on, who was this? Like she didn't even remember that was her birth father. And Alice addresses that she has a problem, and the problem is that she doesn't know what she's going to do with Beth. And that's how much Beth remembers at the opening scene of episode 7. It's very, very emotionally strong scene, in my opinion, and it also makes me a bit emotional. Then after, in the next scene, we see Jolene with Beth. Of course, Jolene is a little bit, quite a bit shocked as to see how Beth lives. She sees Beth in this beautiful home, but on the inside, so on the outside, it's a beautiful house. On the inside, she sees that Beth has been drinking. It's a mess. She is basically not in a good state. Jolene also says tells Beth that Mr. Scheibels died and that she wants to go to the funeral together. She shares a little bit about herself, that she's learning and she wants to be, well, she's on the way to become a paralegal, but her final goal is to become a lawyer because she wants to change the world. We see a lot of racial differences mentioned here and how it seems like incredible for Jolene to be a woman and being a Black woman as a paralegal lawyer. So she says, even, I'm going to be a radical. And Beth answers back saying, I didn't know a job like this existed. But of course, we watching this understand kind of the setting, the historical and political setting at the time. Beth confesses that she knows she's not going down a good path and that she has been struggling quite a bit. And she craves alcohol, she craves the pills, but she knows it's not a positive addiction at all. What shakes her a little bit is when Jolene confesses how much she admires Beth's life, because, again, a quote from the film, you have been the best at what you've got for so long that you don't even know what it is like for the rest of us. She basically expresses her admiration for Beth being able to kind of do the work that she's meant to do. That's how I translated this scene. Is like she's doing the work she's meant to do. She's being the best at her talent, and other people who are kind of looking for the way or the way of life or what are they meant to do. We know nowadays this is a question we all kind of think about, that those who are just seeking what they are meant to do, Beth can't even relate. And I thought this was a very, very beautiful kind of moment. And the next scenes are basically going down memory lane. The girls sit in Jolene's car, which is a super beautiful car, which she basically confesses to Beth that she's dating a white lawyer guy who is, by the way, I believe married. So she's kind of on the sidelines, but she doesn't really care because she kind of considers him as the help to achieve her dreams, which, again, we can have many opinions about. I believe I wouldn't personally use somebody in that way, if you know what I mean. But I guess, again, looking back at Jolene's past and the struggles she has been through, there is no judgment from my part towards anything. So I believe it's not something I would do or not the way I would do it, but I also understand where she's coming from. So the girls are visiting Beth's past, and they actually go to the trailer she grew up in. Afterwards, they go to the funeral. They notice how nobody from the orphanage is present at the funeral, which is quite sad. And they also notice how they don't really see real sadness on anybody who is sitting at the funeral. And Beth even confesses to Jolene that she owed $10 Mr. Scheibel. So now we remember that at the previous scene, for her to be able to play a bigger money prize tournament, she had to borrow money from him. And she promises if she wins the tournament, she would pay it back. And she never ended up paying it back. So it kind of sits heavily on Beth's heart from that moment on. And they even stop at the school, but Beth decides not to go in. She's like, I realize I don't ever want to go in here again. But on their way back from the funeral, she actually changes her mind, so they stop. And she goes in, and here I put, it seems like a full circle moment. I think it was beautiful to see her walk in and kind of remember memories and remember her upbringing in the school, seeing other little children there. And like, it's like from where to where she ended up. It's just a really nice moment. She also afterwards breaks down and cries on Jolene's shoulders because she goes down to Mr. Scheibel's little den where they used to practice and sees that he collected all the newspaper articles about her, pictures, everything was collected, and he must have been so proud of her. Again, this scene made me super emotional, but me crying is not a surprise. So, after this scene, again, we are in a different setting where the Christian Crusade, who are the sponsors for Beth, they have been sponsoring her. They approach her and trying to convince her to release a public announcement about her faith and religion and Christian Crusade themselves. They have written out this media release, and they are trying to get Beth to sign and agree to release that paper. And she basically refuses. As she reads, we don't know, we never find out what have they actually written, but she instantly refuses it, and she says, I can't put my name to this because this seems like bullshit. Then they try to manipulate her and bring up the card of how much they have already supported her with money and so on and so on. But I was so proud of her in this scene to say, she says, okay, no problem, I will pay back every single penny you already supported me with. This is more of a reaction than a response from Beth, because in the heat of the moment, she makes these claims. And only afterwards, she realizes that, she might not be able to go to Russia anymore because she gives away all the money, all the saved money she has. She even reaches out to Benny and kind of low-key tries to ask for help. And of course, strictly just borrowing money. But Benny is very kind of strong in saying no, he does not have money, and he expresses her upset with Beth for making such a rash decision, for not accepting beforehand his help, for saying she would rather drink alcohol than be with Benny in New York. So he kind of brings up the upset from the past. Beth is really trying hard to reach out to many different sources who could lend her money, but actually she gets refused until she plays squash with Jolene. Squash was mentioned earlier. Jolene says that her boyfriend taught her how to play squash, which is more of at the time, a white men's game. But Jolene is playing really well, and they go for squash, and that's when Jolene, without even being asked, offers to take a bet on Beth and promises to lend her the money. And she says, you will give it back when you win. Now, I really liked here where Beth mentions, what if I don't win? And Jolene really expresses that it was still worth it. It will be still worth it. So I just thought this is a true friendship, but actually the scene further develops and Jolene expresses what Beth means to her. I've put an angel halo on Jolene because Beth refers to her as you are like my guardian angel, where Jolene gets a little bit heated here and answers back saying, Shaibal isn't the only one who kept after you all these years. She even mentions that at school trips, from her pocket money, instead of getting ice cream, she used to buy the actual chess magazine where Beth's ugly face was showing, and that she knows that she lost against Benny, and then the year after she won against him, winning the Kentucky State Championship. So she was super in the picture around Beth's career. Now, here, please, those who are watching live, I believe it's you, Dragos, let me know, what do you think about Jolene and Beth's relationship? Do you think it was genuine from Jolene? Did you like her character? I really did, personally. And she expresses how she feels about Beth as family. She says, again, quote, for a time, I was all you had, and for a time, you was all I had. We weren't orphans, not as long as we had each other. And this really shows how much Beth's presence back in the day meant for Jolene. She says, I'm here because you need me to be here. That's what family does. That's what we are. So she claims them to be family sisters, basically. She was always like a big sister figure for Beth, I could tell, but I really, really loved her. Dragos says, character was so nice, right? I know, I agree. It was honestly heartwarming to watch them. And the filmmakers, I believe, created such a beautiful, again, full circle moment, because we saw them kind of at the orphanage, hopeless. Especially Jolene was so hopeless. She knew she wasn't going to get adopted. And from where she came from to go to college, oh, by the way, she'd already studied physical education, so like PE teacher she used to be. Before then she changed into paralegal and wanting to become a lawyer, so she really worked hard in her life to accomplish everything she did. Now we move on to the next scene, where actually, now that the money is sorted, Beth is on her way to Russia. She has an assigned bodyguard who the American Chess Federation assigned like a bodyguard with her, which to me it said a lot about the political situation at the time. He seems to be super serious about his role. He gives all these warnings to Beth, how to behave. He advises to let him know if any of the Russian players try to talk to him in a secret way, especially Borgov. And Beth here is like asking, what do you mean by that? What signs should I expect? And he's like, I don't know, I'm not a chess player. And like something over the chessboard, moves, chess moves, not sure. When they arrive, the driver makes a remark about Beth, saying, is this the chess player? She looks like Anne Margaret, but he says it in Russian. Now, what I absolutely love is that Beth does not confess that she has been learning Russian. She's quiet, she's just listening, and she's understanding, of course, everything they say. Now, I didn't know who Anne Margaret was, never heard about her, so I Googled her. It came up, this beautiful actress, so he's referring to Beth as a beautiful actress, again remarking or making remarks about her appearance. They even say, let's hope the Russians like redheads. So kind of like referring to the fact that she's not there for her chess playing, but more for her looks, which kind of typical thing to hear as a woman. Interesting. It was an interesting scene, and I'm glad the filmmakers created it, because they really portray really well the mentality, especially in those days. So once they arrive, we have the scene Moscow 1968. So we know when the tournament is, in the historical settings. Again, I mentioned here how much I love the music choices. They have really brought in, my opinion, the atmosphere of those times, being in Russia and having some tension there. Now, Dragos, what do you think about the music choices in the whole series? Did you like them? Especially this scene, not sure if you remember, but there are loads of violin. And I know, Dragos, you are from Romania and I'm from Hungary. We are neighbors. And we know that the violin plays a huge part in our own national music scenes and historical music scenes, and Russia as well. I just absolutely loved the setting, the hotel as well, where they display the accommodation to be everything. So feel free to let me know. And also, those of you who are watching after, please let me know what did you think about the music. Now, Dragos says, I didn't pay much attention on music. Dragos, I have good news for you. In the description, I have attached the Spotify playlist I found about the music, basically the soundtrack of the series, and I believe you will find some collection there. So feel free to check it out. And all of you who have not paid attention, to be honest, I have watched this now twice because I rewatched every episode before creating my slides. And second time around, I paid way more attention to small details. First time around, you know how it is. It's like with every series, we kind of just get into the story, but second time around, you can really see like smaller details. So the opening ceremony, I said, was very grandiose. So like there were, of course, the press from all over the world is there. There were like announcements calling their names coming in, and I can confirm that I have witnessed big chess tournaments. I haven't played at those where they would, but just witness them where they would have such a big opening ceremony. Opening and closing ceremonies are quite big and important in the chess world, just like in other sports. But of course, as they mentioned the names, there is clapping, but the biggest applause went to Borgov, and even the way the presenter was saying his name, he was like Borgov is the biggest celebrity there at the time. Beth is, of course, the only female player, and I can tell at some stages she felt a little bit uncomfortable because the players were talking amongst themselves, but she was a little bit, maybe a bit outside, felt a little outsider, but she was, of course, very well deserved to be there. Now the games begin. Beth wins her first game really quickly. The commentator mentions even how fast she won. And outside, a few Russian women are waiting for her to ask for an autograph. I thought this was really, really sweet. She's clearly not used to giving out autographs, but she has already quite a fan club in Russia. Now the second round comes around, and again, Beth wins pretty fast. My picture choices always reflect the stages where we are in the episode. And I found this picture, and at first glance, I felt like, oh wow, it's Beth as young. But no, it's actually that's how the tables were set up, and that's how the spectators were standing by. I really think that the filmmakers were setting the scene up really nicely. So Beth, after the second round, takes a walk in the park and sees the chess players playing in the park. And just also she remembers to see how Borgov, as she walks out towards the door, Borgov stands up and goes and looks at the final position of the game to see how she won. He clearly here shows that he considers Beth as one of his biggest competition, which is not bad. Not bad at all. Now, these games in the park, when I was about 7, 8, 9 years old, our dad, me and my sister, our dad used to take us to the park to play with some old man They even bet for some money. And I remember they used to be outraged if we won against them, which did happen. So my question is to any of you watching, have you ever played in a park, when there are all these usually older men, or to be honest, in Hungary, I have not seen women play in the park chess, but yeah, have you ever experienced this? I faintly remember being at the park and playing, but I don't really remember details, unfortunately. But yeah, I would love to see your answers in the comments about this. In the meantime, we also see that Beth has a growing female support waiting her outside the chess hall every time she leaves to go back to the hotel. Of course, she always has the driver to pick her up and the bodyguard following every step she makes. And this growing support, not just women, I believe men as well. So like a big Russian fan club is created there for Beth as the games are going on. Oh no, I left out an image here. Sorry about that. Oh well. But we see many different reactions as Beth progresses in the games, and she keeps winning every single game after game. Some players handle it really bad and without even shaking hands or acknowledging Beth, storm out, but some are actually respectful. Now, Dragos says he is playing in parks. Wow, that's so cool. I haven't played since childhood, but I actually would now. If I saw this setting, I absolutely would. Dragos, do you make friends do you have a group, like whenever you go there, you know each other already? Or how is that? Can you tell us a bit more for those who are watching and maybe not familiar with this? How does it look like? You just go there and ask to play with somebody, or are you just spectating first, watching the games? I'm so intrigued to know a bit more. I personally, back to the slides, sorry, quickly. No, Dragos says, yes, I do make friends. That's so nice. That's lovely. About reactions, how we react when we lose a game. Now, I have encountered many different reactions, of course. Again, not to I'm not bringing up the female aspect. I think it's very important because I can relate, but it's not against men. But it's true that in my life, in the past, and seeing my sister, of course, play as well, I have experienced many times where men could not really handle loss against us. And this can be an abusive word. It can be just like a slap on the table or just storm out. And it is what it is. But definitely looking back now as an adult, I do see these are some like kind of behavior reactions, and probably those players never learned, and probably they have been affected in their private life to react like that. So that's okay. Some people really handle it really, really well. I think a couple of times I remember I wasn't handling it so well when I lost a game, especially when it's a winning game. I know I had a winning situation and I blunder it. We can relate to that even playing online. I know that many of us have different reactions, but it's really important watching this film, watching from the outside. Of course, someone who gave Beth a handshake or a hug after the game, it really, they warm our heart a bit more. So we can learn from this as well to have a view on this reaction from the outside. In the meantime, Dragos mentioned that I'm spectating first and then ask for a game. That's a great way to do it. I would do the same if I got to that park scenario as an adult. So the crowd outside becomes massive. It's even difficult now to get Beth into her car. Also now another question, Dragos, if you don't mind sharing, if you have any view on how people handle loss or the loss of a game. And those who are watching, if you have any experience around it, it's not to like now complain about it. These are facts and these are moments where we can learn from. So I always believe that chess, the reason why it's such a beautiful game and such a game that we can really learn about life from chess is that we can kind of look at ourselves and look at others and notice reactions. Recently, I created an Instagram post about reactions versus response and how it relates in chess and in life. And I have got an amazing amount of comments and people's views and what have they learned through chess about reaction and response in retrospect. And so, yeah, I love to use chess as an example for life. Dragos says, I think every chess player have to learn also to lose. I agree. And this is one thing that when you do any sport, and also as a child, when you start learning or doing any sport, the main thing that we learn is how to handle a lost game, how to recover even during a game. Can you imagine, guys, like think about it. Sometimes in a chess game, we know we blundered, but like we have to recover fast if we want to have still a chance. And sometimes people manage to make a draw or win a game. So that's a huge skill to have. And this is one of the things that chess has really taught me, is how to recover after a loss, how to create a plan B after maybe my plan A not working out. And I mentioned this many times that 2020 has completely crossed over my plan A, and I quickly had to think about ways to continue in my personal life. Now, mentioning concrete examples, but I really did manage to do that, and I give a lot of kudos to chess because I have learned that. So now, the next game, Beth leaves, and the bodyguard is saying, so I can't decide if you have won or lost now. And she says, we adjourned. So episode 6's title was adjournment. And adjournment, the word says, is like basically can mean that going through difficult conditions to be able to progress. But in chess, it means that at the time, in those times, they used to put the game on hold. The person whose turn it was had to write down their next move on a piece of paper, and they kept it in an envelope. It was very official, gave it to the arbiter. They had to keep it in secret, so the opponent couldn't know what the next move was, but that way both players could just prepare for the next continuation of the game. And she explains this to the bodyguard, and Beth is still very quiet about her knowledge of Russian, which I think it was so smart. Then, getting back to the hotel, she hears voices, and she actually discovers that the Russian players are helping each other in preparing for all of their games. They are working as a team. And Beth is kind of baffled. She is worried. She sees Borgov giving advice to Luchenko. Luchenko is her opponent at this stage. Luchenko is the guy on the picture. I loved him. I think he was such a lovely character, and he plays a very, very good chess player and famous player. And so Beth kind of hears what they are prepping for, and she goes back quickly to the room, sets up the chessboard, and all night she's working, but she's working alone. And this is a part which is very, very crucial, because and I know Dragos is playing chess, we know that big chess players have a whole team behind them these days. And in Russia, it was always something they quickly realized early on, that if they put together their strength, it becomes a big, massive, strong monster there. But because each player has weaknesses and very things that they are amazing at. So imagine if a team puts together their strength in preparation, it can really help the player. So Beth basically ends up winning the game. She not only beats Luchenko, but the whole team behind him. And Luchenko says to her, "Excellent, what a brilliant recovery. I resign with relief." And they both express to each other their admiration for one another. I thought it was a beautiful scene showing that, yes, actually you can lose with pride, even though he is a super experienced chess grandmaster. He was so nice to Beth. I love this scene. And if any of you recently watched it and remembers it, to me, it was absolutely just heartwarming to see that how much respect and can be exchanged between two players. And I hope, honestly, I wish the big chess players, if they watched the series, sometimes, unfortunately, they are not behaving like good sportsmen towards one another. And I hope they can also take some inspiration. Now, this might be, I'm not judging, I'm just claiming that to me, this episode, this scene also was very inspirational. Again, not just in chess, it's everything in life is about how we handle, ourselves. Emotions are important, and I'm never afraid to show emotions. I was always an emotional person, and I know sometimes our emotions drive us to react and display them instantly, but it's also an amazing mastery to learn when it's a time and space to express and how to express our emotions. So after the win against Luchenko, now it's only Borgov left, because Borgov also won all his games. So they are basically competing for the first place in the tournament, which is a huge deal. And the night before, as Beth goes back to the hotel, she actually remembers the details that she might have forgotten or placed it into her subconscious. So she didn't remember as to why her mom said that her biggest problem was to what she's gonna do with Beth. It's clear now that at this stage, unfortunately, she has already plotted her taking her own life away. So yeah, that's a very sad scene to watch, but this is what happens. Now, the next day, the game begins, and all eyes are on them, of course. Many newspaper, many radio, media, everyone is reporting about it. Some people on the street are gathering, and somebody shouts out the moves they are making, and they have their little chessboards and playing it. It's, oh wow, like this, I don't know if it ever happened in Russia to have such a huge kind of effect on a whole population and the whole world. I feel like it's kind of a bit of an exaggeration in the film, but I hope it's true. Now, any of you watching, if you know if that's how big chess was in Russia, please let me know, because I'm not sure. I know it was huge in Russia, chess, and it is to this day, but like for people together and really the whole country, all eyes on them, I'm not sure if that's true. I hope so, though. Now we can feel the pressure, the music, the ticking of the clock, making the moves, the sound effects, visuals are absolutely amazing here. And again, the players adjourn, so the game is paused until the next day, and Beth ends up giving like a group interview. She has not much, like she doesn't really want to, but she does. And as she's giving this, like, how reporters are asking her questions, somebody comes up with a question and says, back home in Kentucky, we would love to know how is it to be alone here? And Beth recognizes Towns. Towns is the reporter and he's back. And in the next scene, we see them in Beth's hotel chatting and having a heart-to-heart about the past. Now we know that Towns was a secret crush to Beth. And basically they end their kind of relationship in the past in an awkward situation where Beth recognizes that Towns is with a guy in a hotel room. And so Beth's heart breaks a bit. And Towns said that his heart broke because he was really hoping they could be close friends, but he understands that it was a bit confusing and all that. So they basically apologize from each other and for the miscommunication or anything like that. And they are making peace. Of course, Beth is so happy to see a familiar face. And he states that he's going to be Beth's second. And the term second means that, again, nowadays big players have seconds. They are the ones who help prepare for tournaments, who help prepare against opponents. They do research work, they do preparation work with openings, lines. So it's basically a team is forming around Beth with Towns. He's even asking, what's the best way to help you? Beth is kind of saying, I want my pills, I want alcohol, but I know they are not good for me, so I don't know. But Towns figures it out by himself, and he contacts Benny, Harry, and some other guys who are back in New York prepping and helping to prep for Borgov and in the position where they are left off. So through a phone call and a very emotional scene, Beth finds out that the guys have been helping her and they are telling her over the phone what moves she should make, and she plays them out. Again, can we appreciate it that even when I started learning chess in 1996, there were no computer programs. It was all on a chessboard and books. And you had your coaches, but your coaches were taking everything from books. Then slowly, about 4 or 5 years later, I remember my sister got her first computer because that was ChessBase, but only ChessBase. That was the only program I remember we used to use, but you had a database of games, and that's how you were learning openings. But the very, very beginning, there was no computer. Guys, can you even imagine having no computer? And the process was way slower. I would say the process was way more human. Mistakes were more possible as well, of course, but I feel like the learning process just worked your brain in a different way. Now, Dragos, do you remember learning chess without the computer? Have you learned chess without the computer? So I'm not sure when did you start learning, but I'm curious, what's your take on this? And those who are watching as well, of course. And Beth is super happy, and they literally prep until it's time to go to finish the game. We hear chanting of people on the street. Like it's such a well created scene. Here I was meant to say they share the moves over the board and Beth is playing it out. Anyway, never mind. Mishaps happen. And we see them play a few moves when Borgov actually doesn't play what they were planning for. So here, Beth is alone again, basically. Essentially, she has to rely on her own brain because the prep that they created with the team, Borgov derailed from it. This happens a lot, again, in actual chess games when the whole team preps for hours and then the opponent makes a different move. And that is why I love to reference this chess reference to life. Sometimes we can prep all we want. We can spend hours in prepping on the chessboard, but if the opponent makes a different move, it's our responsibility to then to create a new plan or just rely on ourselves. And in life is the same. We can make all our plans. We can create these well executed moments ahead in our head, but life can throw curveballs when we are again just there, just by ourselves, relying on hoping that we can create a new plan. And I think it's beautiful. In the meantime, Dragos said, yes, I did learn from my grandfather, no computer for me. I know hopefully some young people who are watching who already learned on the computer will just take a moment and digest the fact that it was a little bit different, but in a beautiful way. And I know computer can help so much these days. So definitely a huge support. So in this scene, when Borgov makes a different move, we see Breath taking a big breath. Breath, hard to say. And she starts to think, and she starts to stare at the ceiling where the chessboard and the pieces come alive for her. And this time without pills, without alcohol, without any substance. So that's great. And even Borgov looks up to see what she can see there, but nobody sees anything. It's only Beth, of course, who sees the board. At this stage, after a while, Borgov offers a draw. And the commentator mentions he never actually offers a draw. So it's a big thing. And if they do a draw, of course, they can be like first, second, like first place, kind of divided first place. But they also say this sentence, and it's on quotation mark. One thing we know about Elizabeth Harman is that she loves to win. So she refuses, she doesn't accept the draw. And you see, those who are not chess players will see that he says draw. And basically, you don't have to refuse it by word. But if you make a move, that means you refuse the offer. And that's what happens. In the end, Beth wins the game. And Borgov resigns in such a beautiful way that made me totally sob when I saw it. And Beth, of course, gets emotional and her eyes fill with tears as well. He basically picks up his own king and says to Beth, this is your game, take it. And she takes the king, and that's the picture you guys see on the screen. She takes the king, and that's a handshake they have. And then Borgov stands up and gives her a huge hug. And everyone is clapping, and she looks around and seeing all these amazing chess players just clapping for her. Oh my God, I'm having shivers. I don't know. Please share with me in the comments again. What did you think? Did it bring up any emotions in you, this scene? I'm sure it did. I'm sure. And to finish off, I kind of put up some screenshots of the reactions of the people who helped and supported Beth. Jolene is sitting, crying, smiling. The guys, basically, I screenshotted when they get the call, but they start jumping around like guys do, they were super happy. And this picture here below is when Downs is taking a picture of Beth, and Beth is just posing for him. This is Beth's face after, as she's looking around at the crowd in the chess hall. And after this, we see Beth with the bodyguard in the car, and he says, oh, basically, she is going to now have a lot of duties towards the American Federation and in Russia, and, giving all these interviews. But she actually asks for the driver to stop the car, walks to the park, and goes where they play chess. And the crowd there gathers around her, gives her a huge group hug, and then she sits down with the park champion and pulls up her serious play face, and they play a game. And that's how the season finale ended. And I know I'm not alone in saying I just really hope they bring the season 2 somehow. They create, and again, an incredible story around this, because I absolutely loved it so much. So this is our season finale. What did we think? Dragos, do you have any comments? What did you think? Um, I'm curious to hear, but I also, another thing I noticed is these Beth looked like, the way competition, the way we think. Sometimes I used to do this. It's different positions. It's fun. Again, body language studies could tell a lot about how one is holding themselves as they are thinking. Dragos, I didn't search about that season 2. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful ending because it left us hanging, so I get it. And I want to believe that she never returns to the USA. Yay! Yeah, that could be a great continuation to find out that actually Beth ends up doing a tour in Europe or something, just travels around and plays tournaments. I don't know. That could be a cool idea. Well, thank you so much for being with me. It has been almost an hour of me just talking. I hope you didn't mind. I really, really appreciate all of you guys' support throughout the whole film club. For me, completing something is always a big thing, because I'm someone who gets excited about so many things at one time, and I find it sometimes difficult to complete one project. But for me, completing every episode of the Queen's Gambit and creating this film club on YouTube was a huge thing. So I want to thank you for being here, because if there was no audience, of course, it would be, maybe I would have not managed to do every single episode. Drago says she was so appreciated there. She was feeling like a fish in the water in Russia. Yeah, that's true. I agree, Dragos. And people truly loved her, and the filmmakers created this scene beautifully to show always more and more and more crowd was rooting for her. Everybody was rooting for her. Oh, I think, even though they loved Borgov, and Borgov was the superstar in Russia, but secretly, I believe everybody was just rooting for Beth. So yeah. Once again, thanks so much for watching. I'm going to end the live stream. And Dragos, thank you for watching. Dragos says, I will search about the final explained. I haven't looked into it yet, but I kind of don't want to, because I'm worried they will say something I don't like, the way it would end. Do you think she returns to the USA? I think she did in the end, yeah. But I also think that she is rebellious enough and a strong character enough that she only returned later on. So she kind of refused to do all these duties that she was supposed to do. That's my hope, basically. Yeah. Thanks again. Thank you. And Dragos, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I'm so glad you caught my live for this one. And thank you to those who are watching after. Of course, I appreciate it also. And leave me some comments. I love to respond to comments and see your take and opinion. And now that the film club is over, I have a lot more ideas as of what to talk about on YouTube. And if you have any ideas or recommendation, please do let me know. And you will be able to find me also on Twitch and Instagram and on my website, which I actually managed to launch My website is live now. Let me give a little plug for it. Please do check it out. Dragos, not sure if you have seen it, but I had big help from Celine from the Love Yourself project. It's loveyourselfproject.co if anyone wants to check out their website. She helped me create the website, and it's still a work in progress, but I am bringing also a newsletter with it, so you will find all details on clonerosie.com. I don't want to plug it too much. But yeah, I'm very excited about the future, and I'm hoping to create some tools to help the complete beginners, because I can help them the best. Let's see what the future brings. Just like with Beth, let's see where her life takes her. And thank you, Dragos, back at you. And see you all very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your days. Goodbye.